Good day everyone! Today, we'll be discussing hypertext and intertextuality. In this lesson, you'll learn how texts are connected, how hypertext helps us navigate information online, and how intertextuality shows the relationship between different texts. Now, let's talk about what hypertext is. Hypertext is a system of linked text and multimedia elements that allows users to navigate between different pages and resources on the web, making information more organized, interactive, and easier to access than traditional text.
It helps organize content, connect ideas, and link text to media like audio and video. This makes learning more interactive and easier to understand. It also supports research by helping users quickly find sources and share information online.
Overall, hypertext makes information more connected, organized, and easier for users to explore and understand. It allows users to navigate through related topics using links rather than following a fixed linear structure. This non-linear approach gives more users more control over how they access information, letting them move quickly between ideas, definition, and supporting details. As a result, learning becomes more interactive and efficient since users can easily find additional context or clarification without leaving the material.
Clicking a highlighted word on a website that often another related page is an example of hypertext. Overall, hypertext make information more connected, organized, and accessible.
So guys, now that you know what hypertext is, let us now proceed to what intertextuality is.
Intertextuality is a key idea in contemporary literacy and cultural theory that originated in 20th century linguistics, particularly from Ferdinand de Saussure, and was later introduced by Julia Kristeva. It explained that a text gains meaning by connecting it with other texts, and readers understand it through this relationship. In short, intertextuality means that no text stands alone. Every text is influenced by and connected to other texts, and we understand it better by recognizing those connections.
Intersexuality is scanning films, newspaper, and advertising the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe. Biblical themes to tell a story of hope, editorial cartoons present a social issue like waste management and emphasize shared responsibility in advertising, applies allusion, and to relate new message to familiar ideas.
Intertextuality shows that reading and writing are connected phrases that create new meanings by relating text to their context. It is useful in both creative writing and forms essay because it draws inspiration from existing words, helps deepen understanding.
Example sentence. Number 1. That you were Romeo, stay away from Juliet. Number 2. His nose was not growing like Pinocchio's. Number 3. She was no Scrooge.
Overall, hypertext is a way of connecting information through links, allowing readers to easily navigate from one text to another, especially in digital platforms. It helps organize information and makes learning more interactive. On the other hand, intertextuality refers to how different texts are related or influenced by each other. It shows how ideas, themes, or references from one text can appear in another, helping readers to understand deeper meanings and connections. And that concludes our lesson. I hope you all learned something from what we discussed today. Thank you for listening.
What would you do if you receive a text message from an unknown number? What would you do if the sender is asking for your private information? Let's say the sender is impersonating someone that you know, asking for money. Or maybe it could be asking for your private information to claim your prize, maybe a money or an object.
First of all, I would likely recall if I do know the person on the unknown number. And second of all, if I do answer the phone call and it's someone impersonating, I would gladly analyze it and check if they're actually the real person or not.
But why do we need to think? Why do we need to carefully think before responding?
I don't really know. How about we dive further into the topic?
So now we will define what critical reading conditioning is. So critical reading, it is an engaging in analytic activity which involves learning by asking questions about the text and the other's brain. So critical reading is not just reading the words in the text. It is an analytic activity, which means the reader carefully think about the text that they are reading. And also, in critical reading, the reader asks questions about the text, such as, what is the author trying to say? Is the claim supported by evidence? And is the information reliable? So next is reasoning. Reasoning is an act of giving statement for justification and explanation. It is the ability of someone to defend something by giving out reasons. So reasoning is the act of giving statement to justify or explain something. It is an ability of the person to develop an idea or opinion by giving out reasons or evidence.
3 steps used in critical reading as reasoning by Maxine Faela, C. Rodriguez, and Morella Johnson. First, identifying assertions. Identifying by a common type of assertion such as fact, convention, opinion, and preference. By identifying the type of assertion, readers can better evaluate whether the statement is reliable or subjective. Second, formulating a counterclaim. Counterclaims are made to rebut a previous claim. Counterclaims are important in critical reading because they help readers think about different perspectives and not just accept one idea. Third, determining evidence. Evidence is the details given by the authors to support his or her claims. Good evidence makes an argument stronger and more convincing.
Hello everyone! Today we are exploring the Common Core College and Career Readiness, Anchor Standard of Skills. This standard serves as the foundation of literacy, outlining the essential skills students need to navigate complex text across all subject areas. Our first focus area is key ideas and details. This category is all about the what of the text. First, we must read closely to determine exactly what a text says explicitly, while also learning to make logical inferences from the information provided. Second, it is crucial to determine the central ideas or themes of a piece and analysis how those ideas develop over the course of the text. And lastly, we look at how the structure of a text contributes directly to its overall meaning.
Our second anchor standard for reading is craft and structure. CCRAR for this standard means we interpret words and phrases in a text and understand how they relate to the tone, point of view, and purpose of the author. CCRAR5. This focuses on analyzing the structure of the text, the author, purpose, and the point of view.
Next is integration of knowledge and ideas. First is CCRA-R6, which is about assessing how point of view or purpose shapes the content. This means that when we read the text, we should understand the author's perspective or intention. Next is CCRA-R7, which is about integrating multiple sources of information. This means combining information from different sources such as books, articles, videos, or websites. The third is CCRA-RA, which is focused on evaluating arguments, claims, and evidence. Readers should be able to determine if the author's claims are supported by strong and reliable evidence. Next is CCRA-R9, which is about analyzing how two or more texts address similar themes or topics. This means comparing different texts to see how different authors explain or approach the same topic. And lastly, range of reading and level of text complexity. We have CCRA R10. This focuses on the ability to read and comprehend complex literary and informational texts. It encourages readers to improve their reading skills and understand more challenging materials.
Good day everyone! We are Group 2 and we will be discussing about forming evaluative statements. Let's have a quick energizer. Try to guess what this emoji combination means. The answer is rating a movie. When we rate a movie and say it is good or bad, we are making an evaluative statement. Now that we have an idea of evaluation, let us now understand evaluative statements are and how we can form them.
Forming evaluative statements. These are statements that present a value judgment based on a set of criteria. They are also a way of giving a better explanation to show the strengths and weaknesses of something through writing.
Evaluating a text. Text. The helpfulness of the text to the people is grammatical and mechanical correctness. The quality of the information cited. Weakness. Unsupported claims, double source, logical fallacies, incomplete information, grammatical and mechanical errors.
How to form evaluative statements? Evaluative statements are used to express our judgment or opinion about the text. First, we formulate assertion, which are statements that express strong belief or opinion about the content of the text. Second, we create a counterclaim in response to a claim made by the author. By doing this, we can clearly evaluate and respond to a text.
Moving on to types of assertions. The first type of assertion is facts. It is a statement that can be proven objectively by direct experiences, testimonies of witnesses, verified observations, and the results of researchers. An example of this is the Earth revolves around the Sun. Another type of assertion is convention, a statement that can be verified by reference to historical precedents, laws, rules, usage, and customs, and may be verified by a dictionary and encyclopedia. An example of this is language convention, which we use in proper grammar.
Another type of assertion is opinion, a statement that based on facts but is difficult to objectively verify because of the uncertainty of producing satisfactory proofs of soundness. For example, most of the Sampaguita flowers can be found at churches. Additional type of assertion is preference, a statement that is based on personal choice. Therefore, they are subjectively and cannot be objectively attacked. For example, I like the smell of Sampaguita flowers.
Let's talk about claim. Claim is also known as argument or position. It is the main argument of the writer. Claim is the sentence that summarizes the most important of idea that the writer wants to express. It shows the writer's opinion or stand after thinking, reading, or analyzing of a topic. In bold terms, claims wants to tell us what the writer believes or wants to improve in their writing.
Opposing and a statement that someone makes in answer to a statement that has been made by someone else, and that is different from it.
In other words, counterclaim is the opposite point of view of the main claim. It presents a argument about an issue. It is important because they show another side of the topic and make the discussion more balanced.
Always remember, evaluative statements help us express our judgment clearly and effectively. Once again, we are Group 2 and that ends our presentation.
Good day everyone. Today we will discuss Lesson 8, Determining Textual Evidence. Textual evidence is very important when we analyze or understand a text. It helps us prove that our ideas or opinions are supported by information from the text itself. So, in this presentation, we will explain what textual evidence is, why is it important, and how can we use it to support our ideas when reading different kind of texts.
Objectives. After this lesson, learners should be able to first, define what textual evidence is and identify the type. Second, evaluate the importance of determining textual evidence when analyzing a text. And third, collect textual evidence that support an assertion or claim about a text. These skills will help students better understand readings and support their interpretation with proof.
But what exactly is textual evidence? Textual evidence refers to the information taken directly from the text that supports an idea, claim, or interpretation. In simple terms, it is the proof from the text that helps explain why an idea is correct. For example, if a student says the character in the story is brave, they must support this claim with textual evidence like, in the story, the character saved the child from a danger even though he was afraid. This detail from the text becomes the evidence that proves the claim.
There are two common ways to present textual evidence. First is direct evidence or direct quotation. This means copying the exact words from the text. Example, the hero said, "I will protect everyone even if it risks myself." Second is paraphrase evidence. This means explaining the information from the text using your own words. Example, the hero promised that he would protect everyone even if he might get hurt. Both methods help support ideas using information from the text.
Evaluating statement. Before learning textual evidence, we also studied about evaluating statement. Evaluating statement expresses a judgment and something. It tells about whether something is good, bad, effective, or important. Example, the article effectively explains the effect of climate change. This statement evaluates the article by giving an opinion about its effectiveness.
Informational text type of non-fiction writing about provides factual information to educate readers about the topic. It uses features like headings, bold words, and visuals to help explain ideas clearly, with the goal of informing rather than entertaining or persuading.
An assertion is a statement that presents a belief or idea that the writer wants others to accept. These are four common types of assertion. Basic assertion expresses a simple statement or belief. Example, students need enough sleep to perform well in school. The emphatic assertion shows strong feelings or confidence. Example, it is absolutely important for students to manage their time properly. Language assertion expresses personal feelings or opinions. Example, I believe that reading books improves our knowledge. Fact assertion presents a statement that can be proven true. Example, the Philippines is located in Southeast Asia. All these assertions should be supported by textual evidence to make them stronger and more meaningful.
In analyzing the text, we also need to understand the elements of the argument. There are four main elements. First is the claim. This is the main idea or position that the writer wants to prove. Second is evidence. We use the information from the text that supports the claim. Third is reasoning. This explains how the evidence proves the claim. Fourth is the counterclaim. This is an opposing idea that the writer may address or respond to. Understanding these elements help readers evaluate whether an argument is strong or weak.
Now that we have come into conclusion, why is determining textual evidence is so important? Firstly, it helps readers understand the text more deeply. Secondly, it allows students to support their ideas with proof instead of just opinions. Third, it helps in critical thinking and analyzing information carefully. Summing up, textual evidence is essential in reading and analyzing text because it supports claim, strengthens arguments, and improves understanding.
Good day, everyone! We are Group 1 from STEM A1. We are here to discuss the purposeful writing in the disciplines for professions that includes academic and professional writing. Today, we are going to discuss its definitions and similarities. Now that it's said, I wonder what academic writing is.
Academic writing. Its main purpose is to inform and persuade, not to entertain. Each paragraph contains one main idea and has a clear topic sentence. It places the thesis statement in the last part of introductory paragraph and is repeated in the first sentence of concluding paragraph.
Not only that, an academic writing is a formal type of writing and that must be in a third-person point of view. Use the pronoun he, she, it, or they instead of I, me, you, and yours, and you must avoid jargon and slang words.
The example of academic writing literature are book review, academic essay, research paper, reaction paper, and project proposal.
That's all for academic writing. Now let's go ahead and discuss about the professional writing.
Professional writing is any type of written communication done specifically in a professional context. It is often applied in business and technical writing, similar to academic writing. Its main purpose is to inform and persuade readers.
It also uses business English in a more personal tone, meaning it can use the first and second person points of view, I and you. It is also objective and emotional, accurate, concise, and straightforward.
The example of professional writing literature are instructional manuals, specification, brochure, business correspondence, lastly, business and technical reports.
You might ask how important it is for us students to learn about academic and professional writing. By learning how to effectively write using those types, we can improve our ability of critical thinking skills and foster intellectual growth. We could also use this ability to write our research paper and schoolworks.
In conclusion, academic writing and professional writing has similar purpose, to inform and persuade. However, it is used to different situations. For example, academic writing is used for school paperwork, where professional writing is used for work. I hope you learned something from us. Thank you.